Let's talk more about attitudes. Attitudes are a type of belief. Attitudes involve an attitude object. That is something or someone that a person evaluates in some way. So, an attitude is a type of belief where you're making a judgment, an evaluation. You eventually, with an attitude, have a pre-made judgment. You already know how you feel about something. All right, so it's a type of belief. An attitude is a type of belief. With beliefs, you can have informational beliefs or evaluative beliefs. An informational belief is your belief about something that's a fact or seems like a fact to you, perhaps. So this could be something like, if you believe that the capital of Louisiana is New Orleans, that is your informational belief. It's false. The capital of Louisiana in reality is actually Baton Rouge. But if you believe that, that is your informational belief. Just like any other belief, it can have problems. And so informational belief, think your facts, your general knowledge sort of stuff. But an evaluative belief, this involves deciding how you feel about something. So this is an evaluation of a belief. So this could be something like, how do you feel about the city of New Orleans or Baton Rouge? Do you feel like, it's a good place, a bad place to visit, a good place, bad place to live? Those are evaluative. You're making a judgment. You're making some kind of decision having to do with how you feel toward it. So that's different than informational. It's not just fact-based, it's feeling-based too. And so beliefs become attitudes when the attitude object is judged as either positive or negative. You like it or you don't like it. It's either good or bad. And so with attitudes, just like with anything else with our thinking as human beings in a social world, they can get complicated. It is possible to have dual attitudes. Dual attitudes are where you have conflicting or contrasting beliefs about a particular attitude object. So this is like when you love and hate something at the same time. I have a love-hate relationship with that. Maybe you think like, I have a Starbucks that's less than a block away from where I live. So like if I run out of coffee, I can just walk to the Starbucks and it's so convenient. And sometimes if my son is like, Mom, I'm craving some food. And I'm like, oh, we don't have anything good in the house. And he's like, I love one of them Starbucks sandwiches. And it's like, it's so convenient. But I have this love-hate relationship because, first of all, it's more expensive than if I made something at home. And then, I'll hear stuff about Starbucks as not being supportive of their workers and, things like that can make you say, I have a love-hate relationship with this. They have some good and bad feelings about this place. You have people, too, that you can have dual attitudes about. Oh, that person's so hilarious. Except when they are rude to my friend, except when they're awful to my boyfriend or girlfriend. That person is awesome. They just have so much fun with them. They never pay me back when I lend them money. You can have those dual attitudes. I love this job. It pays me so little. Or this job pays so much and I hate it. There are different ways that you can have dual attitudes. You're absolutely capable of having conflicting feelings about an attitude object. We have this thing called the model of dual attitudes. The model of dual attitudes proposes that when new attitudes are formed, they do not replace old attitudes, but they do override them. They override your old original attitudes, but they don't replace them. Your attitudes are still there even when you change, even when you alter them, even when you form new attitudes. The old ones are still there. They are persistent. Like you might decide, hey, this person I used to hate, I actually like them. We are friends. And then, every time you're like, oh, those negative feelings, they're still there. They can still push through. You don't just completely abandon or forget them. So you override, you don't replace the original attitudes. Another thing with attitudes is you can have implicit attitudes and explicit attitudes. So what's the difference here? Implicit is more subtle and hidden. These are automatic, unconscious beliefs about an attitude object. When you have implicit attitudes, you may not even be aware that you have those attitudes. These are the sort of thing that if you ask somebody about, they may not be able to articulate their feelings. And I'm going to talk more about this in a future video. But explicit attitudes, those are known. You can describe them. They are the product of controlled, conscious beliefs. So if you have an explicit attitude, if somebody asks you how you feel about something, you can articulate it. You can say, oh, this is how I feel about it. No problem. Implicit, they are not consciously expressed. You may not even be aware that you have them. This can include things like having unknown biases and things like that. Talk more about that in a future video. Now, another thing about attitudes is, even though you can have dual attitudes, they tend to push us in a direction. And so we get a little kind of fancy word for that, where they help us make uni-valenced decisions. Well, what the heck is a valence? All right. Valence, think positive or negative. You can have a positive or negative valence. Uni means one. This is a fancy way of saying you go in one direction. You choose a side, essentially. You choose a direction to lean in. All right. So uni-valence decisions. Attitudes help us figure out which direction we're leaning in. They help us figure out if something is good or bad, whether we like it or don't like it, whether we support or don't support an idea, a person, a company, anything along those lines. And so attitudes, again, they are pre-made judgments. They help you decide very quickly, this is how I feel about that. All right. They are quick evaluations. They are risky because they absolutely can be wrong or harmful. As in the case of the Little Rascals daycare case that I talked about in a previous video, people had their lives ruined because of attitudes that were wrong, but persistent and strong, powerful. All right. So there's some more basic information about attitudes, and in future videos, I'm going to tell you some more about attitudes and our understanding and our research on attitudes.